continuing with my spooky season movie reviews. This video is going to be talking about movies beginning with the letter P, Q, R, S, and T. So my first movie is going to be Premonition, followed by Queen of the Damned, Rings, Sleepy Hollow, and 13 Ghosts. So Premonition came out in 2007 and stars Sandra Bullock and Julie McMahon. This is actually one of my favorite movies of that year. I just find it so interesting with how they tell the story from back to forth. Obviously, you have introduced to the character telling her husband has passed away. And then she wakes up and suddenly Jim is back and she's like, I had this dream you were dead. And he's like, what are you on about? And then it turns out it's a completely different day. The next day she wakes up, Jim is dead again. So Linda is slowly losing her mind, going, what, like 1 minute my husband's alive, the next minute he's dead. It's a very interesting concept. She's slowly losing her mind. Everyone else is just going like, what is wrong with you? Like, yes, your husband's dead, but you need to take care of your girls. You need to take care of yourself. Like, what? And then she's like, no, Jim's alive. And they're like, we're at his funeral. Like, you're insane. So it's just such an interesting thing because obviously, like, she's going back and forth. The audience is watching her going back and forth. The audience is like, I don't know what's going on. We probably know as much as Linda. Upon first viewing, we are following her along with the story. It is not a horror film. It's very, very heavy on the thriller side. That is why I'm bringing this film into my reviews. It is definitely interesting when the time starts to run out, when she has to kind of work out how he dies and whether she should stop it. And without saying spoilers, it can get very, very dark with her character. And Sandra Bullock is just fantastic in this movie. I adore her as an actress, always has, and she's just extraordinary in this film. Just the way she does the emotional changes and how she's so loving and affectionate and then very lost and depressed to very angry and confused to terrifying. Like, she's just so good with her emotional displays and she's just a fantastic actress. Julie McMahon is fantastic. I already spoke about him before with the movie Bait and I just adore him as an actor. I loved him from Charmed, and just the fact he's an Australian actor just makes it even better. I get to support an Australian. And yeah, it's always been an interesting movie, especially with how the plot goes and how the story goes. I really don't want to give any spoilers, but if you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend checking it out. And it goes for an hour and 36 minutes. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The duration is not too long and the performances are worth it. Even if you find the storyline a little convoluted, a lot of people complain there's plot holes, but considering they're jumping back and forth, I think they actually do a great job explaining where the time is going. So that brings me to my Q movie, which is Queen of the Damned. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this movie. Even Anne Rice herself is really disappointed with this movie, considering she wrote the book. But this is one of my favorite vampire movies. And it's probably because I was already a massive fan of Stuart Townsend before seeing this movie. And I just love the soundtrack so much. So I feel like that's what's persuaded me so much with this film. The problem with this movie is they condensed two books, The Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned, to make one movie. These books are very sizable, especially Queen of the Damned. If you're a fan of the book, you are going to be disappointed with this movie because they are so vastly different. I can understand why Anne Rice, as the author, did not appreciate what they did with the movie. But as the movie itself, I love it. The storyline is pretty basic. Basically, Stuart Townsend plays Lestat and he's like, I'm a vampire. Like, what are you going to do about it? If you come and kill me, you're proving that vampires exist. Otherwise, I'm basically a rock star. Like, living the dream. It's fantastic watching a vampire kind of misbehave and do it so publicly that vampires can't really react without proving that they exist. And then it's just one massive music video. So it's definitely not the strongest storyline, but the music is so enjoyable and just, it's just a great kind of gothic film that I enjoy. It came out in 2002. It was the first year I saw it, so it's already 17 years. I've loved this movie for 17 years. I can understand why some people don't like it. I can understand that it's not the perfect movie, but regardless, I'm always going to love it. It doesn't get straight into the horror. Keisha's arrival brings horror to the film where she gets a little gory. She rips someone's heart out. So she brings the gore to the film, but otherwise it's not very gory. But it's definitely one of my favorite vampire movies, so I just wanted to talk about. Sadly, this was the last movie Alea did before she passed away, and her performance is incredible as well. She was already fantastic in Romeo Must Die, so then watching her get more acting experience and then sadly pass away was just horrible timing. But yeah, it's just a fantastic movie that I have adored for so long that if you don't like it, I can understand, but at the same time, I love that it does have the following it does. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Rings. So this is kind of a sequel but standalone from the Ring American version. It has nothing to do with the original Japanese. So this kind of takes a different twist on the story. They are creating an experiment that basically they are watching the video, but they have set someone up to watch the video after them. It's just constant. Someone watches it, they have a backup to watch it, backup. So it's like a universe experiment to get extra credit. It's a very different idea. It's interesting because they are studying it to create and add to the lore. And it's more interesting and better if you just view it as a standalone and you don't look at it as a continuation, because then that creates plot holes. It's a very creepy movie. It's not gory. There's a few jump scares thrown in, but more it's just a very different way they are telling the story that I really enjoyed, and it just has such a different and interesting ending that I definitely recommend. So this brings me to my movie S, which is Sleepy Hollow. This came out in 1999. I watched this movie when I was 8 and it creeped me the absolute shit out. I love Johnny Depp and that's what sold me into this movie of why I had to watch it. He's just such a fantastic actor and I really truly adore him. And of course it's directed by Tim Burton, and Tim Burton and Johnny Depp have worked together so much and always do incredible work together. So I really enjoyed Sleepy Hollow and kind of the story they give. It's a very strong horror movie, but it doesn't rely too much on jump scares. There's quite a lot of gore and blood in the movie, but it's more from Johnny Depp's character's perspective as he's a doctor and kind of examining the body. So the blood's more on him. And then, of course, the blood causes him to faint. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic that they decide to do with Johnny Depp's character. The movie has a low grade tinge to it, which is just common for Tim Burton and what he does with his movies. Otherwise, the story is fantastic with storytelling. There is a fantastic performance by Christina Ricci. Christopher Walken does a great job in just being there, but he doesn't talk at all during the movie. It's just kind of his presence that adds to that dark atmosphere. So I really love Sleepy Hollow. It's probably one of the best Tim Burton Johnny Depp projects they have done, especially because it was so early on when they started working together. So if you haven't checked it out and you are a Johnny Depp fan, I definitely recommend seeing it. It does get quite bloody and violent towards the end. And unlike a lot of horror movies, the kids are not safe in this. And Tim Burton actually really enjoys that they decide not to keep the kids safe. And the last film I'm going to be talking about is 13 Ghosts. So this came from the director as from Ghost Ship that I spoke about before in one of my videos. And this is actually a remake, which I didn't know of when I first watched it. This movie came out in 2001. And while I really loved the movie back then, I still love it now. It has not aged the best when you're watching it for a scare factor. It's not really a scary movie. The special effects and sound mixing is super annoying when watching it, but I know it was done elaborate because they wanted to make the experience so painful for their audience, which kind of sounds a bit sadistic, but it's very interesting that they came up with that idea that they knew the sound would make their audience uncomfortable, so that's why they decided to do it. I cried the first time I saw this over one of the characters' deaths. I could not handle it. I basically turned off the movie and just bawled my eyes out. And stupid me, because this is VHS, just instantly pressed play again, realizing, oh, you know, it didn't just continue when I left and cried. So it was a very traumatizing time when I watched this movie. Because I was 10, I was not expecting to be traumatized by a fake person's death. But I really loved the movie and just kind of the story and lore they gave to each ghost. There are so many different ghosts in this movie, obviously because it's named 13 Ghosts. Just to name a few, there's Angry Princess, the Torso, the Withered Lover, Firstborn Son, the Bound Woman, the Hammer, the Jackal. They're all interesting with the character lore. If you have the DVD or even go on YouTube, there's a special kind of lore video they created to explain each character and kind of their backstory. It makes it even more interesting. Despite there being very few deaths in this, it is really gory when the deaths do happen. And considering the duration is only an hour and a half, it is a very decent storyline. And it gets to the point pretty quickly. The performances are definitely not the best. The characters don't really get any development at all. But this movie is more recommended just for the ghosts and the lore that they have given the ghost. So if you liked Ghost Ship and you appreciate the director's work, definitely worth checking this out. I mainly checked this out because it had Matthew Lillard in it. I really adored him and just wanted to check out a horror film. So I definitely recommend checking this out. I definitely recommend Premonition, Queen of the Damned, Rings, and Sleepy Hollow. I love all of these movies. So yeah. Thank you, as always, for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your favorite movies beginning with P, Q, R, S, and T. Bye.